This is my first painting of this year. This is basically inspired of Mona Lisa, but this is like my own version of it. That whole traditional idea of European beauty is something that's very different from my sense of beauty. This really starts the conversation going. This is like the entire Adidas archive of all the shoes that they have made. This one's called Can I Get a BJ Please? And you can see there's a lot of phallic symbolism going around in most of my paintings. So there is one over here. Hi Mashable, this is Santanu Hazarika and welcome to my studio. This is one giant hall where I like to paint. The only thing is I really like tall ceiling height, so I can feel like I'm in a larger space. That also helps me think. This entire wall is sort of like my canvas. I mount my canvases, I mount my paper, and I basically paint on this section. Here are my paints, my supplies. Some of the paintings are for my old exhibit. Like for example, this painting was done for my first ever exhibit in Bombay called Black BLCK, and this piece is called Adidas, a cyborg's way of dealing with conflicted thoughts about sexuality and depression. Since it's a very, like the floor space is a lot, I like to keep most of my supplies on a movable table of sorts so that it's easy for me to shift my supplies as I'm painting, as I'm going through stuff. This is my first painting of this year. This is basically inspired of Mona Lisa, but this is like my own version of it. So lately I've been experimenting a lot with charcoal. That whole traditional idea of European beauty is something that's very different from my sense of beauty. People have really liked this one. There have been like some of my friends, who comes over, they're always clicking pictures in front of it. So I've kept the sofa right there. So anybody who wants to click a picture can just sit there and have their pictures taken. This is where I actually ideate or sketch out most of my drawings and ideas and stuff. Pencils, markers, all my stationeries and supplies are there on this pegboard. I sit and draw, sketch out things. I make concepts and stuff on it, and basically, and also this is where I customize most of my sneakers. So as you go through this bunch of sketchbooks, some sketchbooks are there, some sketchbooks are here. And I also like to keep things that I find interesting and inspiring around the places that I work. I have a Super Saiyan Goku figurine over here. There is one figurine which is of Batman Who Laughs, the controversial Batman. Tea section, or where all the meetings happen. If we have people coming over, talk about work, or maybe to just relax and all. So it's basically, this is where it happens. A bunch of books here. This really starts the conversation going. This is like the entire Adidas archive of all the shoes that they have made. Everyone who has stopped by always ends up talking about the sneakers or about how heavy this is. I love all things animated, and I grew up watching Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab and all of that, so why not? My style of painting, it's a mix of drawing and painting. I'm not formally trained in painting or actually sketching. My background is in engineering. But I actually taught myself how to draw and paint just by observing and copying comic books and mangas. This was actually for Divine. I don't know when he's gonna come. He's gonna come and pick this up. So this was an abstract piece which I created, which is sort of inspired of chaos and the whole concept of entropy and space. Again, for my exhibition, this one's called Can I Get a BJ Please? And you can see there's a lot of phallic symbolism going around in most of my paintings. So there is one over here. This has to do with the whole concept of desperation. I am a big Slipknot fan. Like ever since I was a teenager, or maybe ever since I was a kid, I've always loved heavy metal music. This painting is homage to my favorite band, Slipknot. It has a flow, it has a direction, but it has also a lot of violence in it, a lot of aggression in it. This one's called The Collector. Again, it's part from my first exhibit. This is basically depicting a collector who basically is streamlining all dismembered fluidic body parts into a headspace. These are some of my ink, paper and ink work. This one's called The Moth Queen. This one's called Spaghetti. This one's My Lady, and this one's The Flasher. What I try to create is sort of like a dreamlike fantasy situation or a dreamlike fantasy image. It's a mix of drawing, painting, sketching. It's a mix of pop themes, pop art, but also a lot of dark elements, but I present it in a very palatable way. If you see a face here, and as you keep going up, there are a bunch of smaller faces around. And you keep going up, this whole head structure extends into this giant mouth, which is sort of consuming bunch of dangling spaghettis, which are in shapes of penises. This rug is also something which I made. Here you can see a female cyborg figure who's sort of lifting her skirt, and there is like a giant alligator face, which is the chastity belt itself. I love Batman. Ever since I was a kid, I always loved the whole idea of a rich, spoiled brat with no superpowers going on and saving people's life. And obviously, he's the most darkest character in the whole DC universe. This whole Batman being bloody and bleeding from the mouth and being in a very distressful situation is a metaphor for how all your superheroes actually tend to let you down sometimes. All the Photoshop, all the illustrator work, all the post work, edit stuff, everything happens on this system. And also I sit around and play video games now and then when I'm bored. Like I said, I like to keep things interesting. I like to keep stuff that I find quite intriguing. I have this bear brick, which is like a special bear brick, which was sent to me by the government of Singapore. These are some of the memorabilia from all the TEDx's that I've spoken in. So I think I've done around 3 or 4 TEDx till now. So this one was gifted to me by Shruti because I told her I really like Baroness from G.I. Joe. I find her really hot. So she gifted me this on my birthday. And then there is obviously Storm Shadow over here. And then this is Travis Scott Fortnite. See, I like a lot of toys. I couldn't afford like really expensive stuff as a kid, but now I'm just fulfilling all my childhood dreams. These two are sort of like my prized possessions. This is Wolverine issue number 2. I found it in a very good condition and a good rating, so I got this. I've put this piece right on top of my workspace. If you look at that, there is like an eye at the center, and this giant eye is sort of staring back. So whenever I'm having sort of an artist block where I'm actually not able to think properly, I just go on staring at this. And there are so many layers and there's so many folds and structures which are inside. So every time I see inside all of these curves and lines, I see something new. So here are a bunch of the books that I'm actually currently reading. Okay, this is one of my favorites. This is Batman the Killing Joke Deluxe Edition. This is where actually Batman laughs with Joker, the last part. Spider-Man first issue, Pravitra Pavakar, and it's actually signed by the author, Nikesh Shukla, who's the creator of this character. So it's actually signed out to me. Mostly art books. This is like one of my favorite artists. This one, Sorayama, is a Japanese artist who does a lot of erotic, futuristic illustrations and paintings. So old CDs which were only meant for radio releases. So these are some of the really old metal bands. I used to listen to all these bands as kids, and I had the CDs before, but these are special because these are only for radio. There's also a bunch of hip-hop CDs, 50 Cent, Hustler's Ambition, 50 Cent, PIMP, Candy Shop, look at this, Busta Rhymes. Yeah, pretty much that's all there is in the studio space. Things that I like, things that I'm inspired of. Thank you for coming over. Cheers.